Cage Cash, episode 7. That's Ryan. I'm John, and today we will be talking about UFC 286 taking place in Great Britain, Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Ryan, how are you doing?
Good, John. Really good. Really excited to break this one down. It's been a fun couple cards these last couple weeks, but man, might be most excited for this one. Seeing Usman get back in there, can he kind of you know get back to form and become and new over Edwards who knocks him out with the head kick last time. So I'm really excited to see this one, and then a great lightweight. Co-main event as well with Justin Gaethje and Rafael Fiziev. Gaethje one of kind of the greats to do it in the general fan perspective, I'd say. And Fiziev really kind of coming up the rankings, and this being his test probably to get towards a title shot. So really interesting kind of storylines all the way around here. But yeah, I think we got 15 fights. So why don't we get right into it and start breaking these down and find the best looks and best ways to cash some tickets.
Sounds good. And you're pulling it up now, but let's start. We have a women's flyweight bout between Juliana Killer Miller and Veronica Macedo, formerly Veronica Macedo, now Veronica Hardy. Ryan, I'll let you kick us off quick with this one.
Yeah. So, this has been a kind of big one on Twitter this week. Lines are pretty wide, obviously, right? Juliana Miller should come in and probably dominate, at least based on what we've seen in the past. She has really good kind of top game and top control. She's going to be looking to get the fight down to the ground with some trips and really just be physical and kind of work from the top. She's super aggressive, is very kind of active and live for a finish. I think we can take a look in a second, but I think the over-unders are pretty wild for a women's fight. I think favored to end inside the distance here. And that's really just because I think people don't trust Veronica Hardy, right? So just has been out of the game for 3 years. Went 1-3 during her time in the UFC, right? Never really showed any super solid skill set. Has got a Muay Thai background, was a champion kind of striker there. Has been away from the cage for a while, doing like very different things, and also got married to Dan Hardy. So there's like a question of how interested she is, right? But she's also only 27, so for me as a bettor, there's a lot of unanswered questions here. Definitely not looking to lay minus 450 on a 3-1 women's favorite either. So man, from a betting perspective, I'm definitely going to pass, but I'll take Miller to get the job done. And I'm going to take Miller by decision, because the one bet I did make earlier in the week on this fight was an over 2.5 at like plus 110 or something. But for a women's fight like this, thought there was pretty good value there. But yeah, people are expecting Miller to kind of go out there and roll in this one. Anything you've seen on it, John, in your research?
Yeah, I mean, I think the line's definitely fair. I really don't think Killer Miller's the most impressive fighter, especially for being such a heavy favorite. She's been relatively sporadic in her fights in professional. She's actually had a lot of amateur fights though as well. She was impressive on the Ultimate Fighter, but she doesn't have the best stand up, and that's actually a spot I think Hardy may be able. Like, Hardy's a weird one because, like you said, she's been thoroughly unimpressive results wise. Not the greatest IQ. I was watching some of her fights, and she was just taking some kind of wild shoots and ending up getting stood up a lot of the time because her opponent didn't want her down there. But she does have a decent, at least early in these fights, she comes out throwing. Like you said, coming off a three-year layoff. And I was reading a interview with her this morning where she said, honestly, if I was watching it from the outside in, I don't think I would say I would pick myself. Which I thought was a funny,
Yikes!
funny
Yikes! I don't
quote
like
here.
that.
But she's confident with the layoff. She's been doing stuff in the background. It might be able to put up a fight. I think Miller's gonna be able to control it though. I think the line reflects that. Might be a little more exciting than people expect, but I would bet on Miller to control this one.
Yeah, John. So just taking a look at the odds here quickly. So as we said, right, fight not to go to decision, almost minus 150. So pretty wild for a woman's fight like this. Obviously Miller to win by TKO or submission is kind of the path they're looking at, right? So those lines getting hammered. Man, you talked about it, John Macedo on the feet, right? You can see up here at Bet Rivers plus 1,500 to get that knockout. So if you do like that Macedo side, bookies are kind of telling us, hey, we're expecting it to end inside the distance, so maybe you get the odds increase even more with an inside the distance line on Macedo. But yeah, it's not something I'm going to be relying on. Juliana Miller is definitely not going to be the backbone of any of my parlays or anything this week as well. Yeah, but I'm going to take Miller, and I'm going to say she gets it done by decision.
I'm gonna go Miller, second round submission, barring Hardy kind of gasses herself out early. So that's what I'm going with. But let's keep it moving. We got a
Great.
lot of fights. Next one up, we have a lightweight bout between Jay the Black Country Banger Herbert and Ludovic Mr. Highlight Klein. Herbert coming in 12-4 overall, 34 years old, 2-3 in the UFC. He's a former Cage Warriors champion. Then you got Klein coming in out of Slovakia, 3-2 in the UFC, 19-4 overall. Had a highlight head kick win over Shane Young. Ryan, what are you seeing here?
Yeah, this is a great matchup. Gonna get our first London fighter here on the card. Fights with Leon Edwards up at the top of the card out of the kind of same gym. So the Black Country Banger here and Jai Herbert, he's a good fighter. Dangerous on the feet. It wants to box more than anything, right? He's had a problem with takedown defense in the past, so there's kind of been two worlds to his losses. Either he's getting taken down and controlled, or we've also seen the chin become a problem, especially lately. Couple big knockout losses, a huge knockout loss to Ilya Tapuria. Actually, after he sat down Ilya Tapuria in that fight, right? So he's very dangerous. But if he gets hit with a clean shot by somebody with a lot of power, there's a good chance he's going to sleep. I think that's fair to say at this point. Almost 35 years of age, and got the win last time out against Kyle Nelson, but like Kyle Nelson sucks, and he didn't look that impressive there in my mind. On the other side, we've got Mr. Highlight Ludovic Klein, right? I'm a really big fan of his game. 19-4 overall. Lost his two fights in the UFC. So we take a look at his record. He's actually been in the UFC for a little while now. Going 3-2 in the promotion, but the losses were to Trezano and Landwehr, and both of those losses, really, he just got controlled on the ground. And that's where he lost those.
Sorry about that. Had some technical difficulties. Ryan, you want to pick up where you left off?
Yeah, so just talking about Ludovic Klein here, the highlight, and as we were talking about, right, the two fights that he lost were really fights that he got controlled on the ground. That's not going to be the fight he's getting with Jai Herbert here. It's going to be a lot of stand up, a lot of back and forth, and honestly, I think there's a good chance that Klein puts Herbert to sleep. That's the way I'm kind of leaning in this fight. Klein's a little bit low volume at times. That would kind of be my downside. I think he could definitely win a decision as well, but you're getting some good value, I think, on Herbert to get finished. We've seen him finished a few times now at the UFC level, and just not really trusting his chin. So trusting the younger guy, kind of coming in on a streak here to keep that going and keep moving up the rankings. I just think his best day is a lot better than even Jai Herbert's best day, and for that reason, I'm going to take Klein in this one.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said. I think the one thing Jai might be able to rely on, he's got the pretty large height and reach advantage. So he may be able to keep a good distance, especially with, like you said, if Klein's not able to get that volume up, might be able to keep him
Yep.
outside, do some work on him that way. But I agree. I think I saw Herbert, 75% of his losses have been by KO. So that's 3 losses. But
Yeah.
it shows, I mean, and those have all been in his last 5 fights, I believe. So he's definitely a guy who's liable to get knocked out. And I think Klein, if he kind of does what he should do here, is going to be able to get inside on him and put him to sleep. So I agree. I agree with you here. Do you have a round you're looking at?
So I just took the KO prop when it opened up earlier in the week. I got it at plus 255, so you can still get it at plus 225 over on Bet Online. But the money continues to come in on Klein here. We've seen pretty solid movement on this all week. I think I jumped in around minus 160, but getting closer to a 2-1 favorite. At this number, I'd still be backing him, but I wouldn't want it to go much further. Just because, as you talked about, John, there is that height and reach gap, right? There is a chance he can just kind of sit on the outside and poke and prod. And first London fighter on the card too. If it gets to the scorecards, not sure I want to be, holding Mr. Highlights ticket. Might be on our English boy Jai Herbert. So, it's an interesting one. But yeah, I'm gonna say Ludovic Klein by first round knockout. Honestly, I think if Herbert gets hit with a couple good ones, he's
Yeah.
going to go to sleep. And I think Klein is smart enough to find that chin early. So that's what I'm going to say. I think he gets him out of there quick.
I agree. I'm gonna follow you there. I'm probably also gonna hop on the KO prop. But yeah, I think that's a good read here. So let's move
So
on.
what's the
No, you got a
Yeah,
bet.
keep moving, John. I was just gonna take a look at what the Klein and KO in round one. So you can get plus 600 out there. So at that point, probably just gonna be playing the KO prop only. But just wanted to take a look there. So
Cool. All right, let's move on. We got a women's flyweight bout. We got Joanne JoJo Wood coming in 15-8, 3 straight losses. Opened at minus 175, 37 years old, going up against Luana Carolina. Dread is her nickname. She's coming off
Brad.
a loss as well, which is that Molly McMahon, Meatball Molly, KO elbow, the highlight that I'm sure everyone's seen. She opened at plus 145, but she's coming in as a far younger fighter, 29 years old. Ryan, what are you seeing here?
Man, this is a gross fight. Not super interested in it one way or another. I took a small play on Wood early in the week when she was down around minus 140, and I might just arb out and take the free money. I have no interest in really either of these fighters. Joanne Wood has fought the highest level
Yeah.
of
Yeah, I mean, just her
she's
last
been to the
3
top.
losses. Yeah, if you look at it, I mean, it's
Right. We look at the last three. It's Lauren Murphy, which is like, but then it's Tyler Santos and Alexa Grasso, right? Both losing by choke. She's fought Valentina in the past two. So obviously, where she's at in her overall game, I think is just a higher level of competition and just really outpaces Carolina there. Now, the question is, last time out against Grasso, it is Alexa Grasso, but she also just looked like she kind of didn't want to be there. Like it wasn't a visually, you see some of these older fighters and sometimes they're in there at the end. It's like, are they just in there for the paycheck or, how much more motivation is there for them to continue fighting? So that's what I really worry about here more than anything. Luana Carolina is a fine fighter. She's got kind of good pace and pressure. Has picked up some pretty decent wins in the UFC as well. So, beat Lupi Godinez, beat Polion Botello, but this is going to be a big step up in competition for her. And I think, if Wood is 70% of the fighter that she used to be, even in 2 or 3 years ago, I think she gets the job done pretty convincingly here by decision, but other than that, I'm going to pull my money back and put it elsewhere, I think, because I just don't have any faith in either of these women this weekend.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think for the odds, I don't hate Carolina. She's coming in at a pretty good number, especially going up against an older fighter who, like you said, is not really shown the same stuff in her recent fights, especially 3 straight losses. But she's coming off that terrible KO to McMahon. You never know how fighters are going to respond from that. So it's probably something I'm going to stay away from. I think there's maybe a little too much respect towards Wood based on her kind of career resume, not necessarily where she is right now. So if I was going to touch it, I'd probably lean towards Carolina to maybe get a decision victory. But I agree. I think this is a fight that I might be switching over to college basketball for a little bit.
Right, right. That's right, John. So if you're gonna jump on the, if anybody's jumping on the Carolina side, this is probably now the time to do it. But I expect that the line gets a little bit closer. But yeah, it's over. Fight goes to decision minus 290, right? So I think we kind of get a boring striking match between the two of them, and that's not something I want to be laying this kind of juice on going to the scorecards. So with that, let's keep moving.
All right. Next one, we have flyweight bout between maybe two of the most conflicting nicknames we got on the roster. We got Jake Hadley coming in, minus 420, 9-1, goes by White Kong, going up against Malcolm X Gordon. He's 14-6, coming off a loss. Big underdog, opening up at plus 310, and he is fighting out of Canada. Hadley has a pretty decent age advantage here, coming in at 26, almost 27, while Gordon is nearly 33 years old. Pretty similar height reach. Gordon's got a little bit of an advantage. Ryan, do you see any reason Hadley won't be able to get this one done in front of the home crowd?
No, not really, John. I just got a notification here. Gordon did miss weight earlier this morning, was a 4.5 pounds over, but they just got word that the fight will proceed, even with him 4.5 pounds over. But yeah, I don't like anything about Malcolm Gordon. His chin is terrible. I mean, it's like he's good offensively, but he's just like such a shitty.
All right, we are back again. A little more technical difficulties. Like you said, Ryan, Gordon is definitely prone to the KO. 4 KO losses in his career. Might be something for Hadley to really just take advantage of. Was there anything else you saw here, or what point?
No, not really. Hadley is more of a submission fighter himself, right? So if this fight takes place on the ground, there's a good chance he's able to get him out of there. But coming in 5 pounds over, is he going to have a little bit more of an advantage on the ground? Who knows? I don't know that Malcolm Gordon is good enough for it to matter. To me, this is a setup fight for Jake Hadley to just keep winning. But yeah, I think he's a good parlay piece this weekend. I think Malcolm Gordon's on his way out of the UFC, especially missing weight that badly. That's not something that's is gonna win you any favor with the bosses. So we'll take a look here at the odds just quickly. We see that Hadley is the best line you're getting on him right now is minus 400. So open minus 300 down to minus 400. That line will probably get wider as people look to use them in parlays and with the Gordon weight miss as well. So I like Hadley here a lot. Probably a good parlay piece. See him by KO plus 255. As we talked about, that's probably Gordon's path of losing most likely. To win by submission is plus 190. So yeah, not I think the line's about right, honestly. Nothing I'm seeing that's sticking out too crazily here. Some people seem to like Malcolm Gordon a bit. I don't totally get that. So maybe I will after this weekend, but to me he's pretty bum.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I'm going to move on.
He was able to push Makayev. He got submitted, but he pushed him to the third round. So I might like Hadley by decision.
I mean, he got to the third round.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people kept bringing that up, and it's like he got to the third round. It's not like he was winning that fight, by any means.
But maybe a better.
Yeah, I hear you.
A better specialty fighter that he pushed that far. So maybe Hadley just wins this on volume. But I agree. I think good parlay piece, maybe a little bit of a boring fight. But let's move on. Next fight, middleweights. We got Christian Leroy Duncan going up against Dusko Todorovic. Duncan coming in 7-0 out of England, 27 years old, going up against Thunder Todorovic, who's 12-3, 2-1 in his last three out of Serbia, and he is 28 years old. Ryan, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, this should be a really fun one. I'm really excited to see Christian Leroy Duncan making his UFC debut here. So has been a Cage Warriors champion for a long time. Didn't fight on Contender Series or anything, but and then had a super long amateur career, right? Like we look at all these amateur fights, ended up going 17-5 in his amateur career, 17-6. So I actually like that a lot, right? Like the thing is he I think has an understanding of where his strengths and weaknesses are, and is able to kind of get that fight where he wants to, right? So where he wants it is on the feet, and I think this is just going to be a kind of stand and bang between him and Dusko, and if that's the case, I really favor Chris Duncan. I just think he has a much more versatile attack on the feet. Uses a lot of like spinning kicks, X kicks, like fun kind of from a fan perspective, fun and interesting, right? But from a opponent perspective, I think just very hard to game plan for and deal with. You're never really sure where he's gonna go. And then we look at the Dusko side, and really the power is what he's kind of known for, and has made his stay in the UFC with, right? But 2 wins or 3 wins in the UFC, all three of those fighters now out of the organization, right? Jordan Wright fucking sucks. Mark Patullo sucks, right? So like he's beating the guys he's supposed to beat. He's losing to the guys he's supposed to lose to. In my mind, this is another guy he's supposed to lose to. So I'm going to take Chris Duncan this weekend. Lions getting so there's 2 Chris Duncans on this card. I keep doing this to myself, which makes it very confusing. But if we take a look here, we see Christian Leroy Duncan around a -215 favorite. Dusko plus 170 coming back the other way. So this fight is obviously favored to wow, it looks like they took the round props off actually, but fight is definitely favored to knockout decision. I think somebody's going to sleep here, and I'm going to be backing the London boy, kind of building his way up and having a big kind of entrance into the UFC. So
Yep, I'm in agreement there. I do think Todorovic, like you said, has some good power, has had some impressive fights, but he's not, I think in terms of like movement, especially on the feet, he's going to struggle against Duncan. Duncan, like you said, much more varied attack, throws some great elbows, and is able to do a lot more damage with different tools there. So I think he's also got a longer reach. So I think unless Todorovic is able to show something different on the feet, I don't think he's going to be able to just stand there and tee off. I think Leroy Duncan's going to make him pay for that. And I think Leroy Duncan's going to be able to come away with the KO here.
love it. I'm with you there.
All right, let's keep it moving then. We got a few more prelims to knock out. The next one we have is some featherweights. We have Leron Murphy, Gabriel Santos. Murphy's coming in 11-0-1, goes by the Miracle. His last win was about a year and 4 months ago. He's 3-0-1 in the UFC with wins over Makwan Amirkhani, Douglas Silva de Andrade, and Ricardo Ramos. And he's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here, while Santos is coming in on late notice, I believe, just about a week notice here. He does hold a win over Elvis Brenner during his regional scene, who does have a UFC win on his belt. He's 26 years old, and this will be his UFC debut at 10-0. Ryan, do you think Santos will be able to pull off a big upset on any short notice here?
I want to pick him. I really do. I think one of these two is going to get knocked out. The only reason I think it's more likely Santos was that he's coming in on a week's notice. To London, to to Leroy Murphy's, he's been training for this fight for a while. As you said, right, hasn't fought for a year and 4 months when he beat Makwan Amirkhani. Just hasn't been that active, which is something I don't really like to see, especially as kind of being the big hyped up prospect they've talked about from England in this division. At featherweight for a little while now. Gabriel Santos is a really fun fighter to watch. Has been in a lot of just bangers so far, and is the current champion over with LFA, and as John said, right, has fought as recently as late January of this year, right? So is way more active and just way more game, I think. To get in there and keep things moving. Now, the big challenge is we've seen him get hurt in some of his fights before, seen him take clean shots. He's been able to survive and get past that. I'm not sure he's able to do that here coming in on short notice like this. So, I think my best bet of this fight might be something like fight ends by KO, because I think if Santos catches Murphy, I think there's a good chance he puts him down. Murphy is kind of a be killed fighter, comes out really aggressive, uses a lot of that gas tank up early. So I think if he can kind of survive, that Santos could really put some pressure on him late and force him out of there. It's just, I don't know that I trust Santos to be able to break him down coming in on 1 week's notice. So I like Leroy Murphy. I took like some violence in the spot. That would be my biggest look more than anything. I also took a little bit of Murphy by KO when it was like plus 400. You can still get plus 400 out there. Santos by KO if you're on the Santos side, right? Plus 750s. So let's see. Is there a fight ends by KO on here that we can see? Fight ends by KO plus 200 at FanDuel. So that might be a spot that I look to kind of take a peek at. We can see, fights just about even to go to decision. So obviously I like violence a little bit more than the market on this one, but yeah, any big thoughts on this one, John? I think I'm really excited to see this is going to be a great fight. I'm really excited to kind of see both of these guys. Murphy coming back off the long layoff, and Santos, who honestly is probably going to have a pretty extended UFC career in the years to come. So,
yeah, no, I think you nailed it. Santos, if anyone wants to go check out, there's some videos on YouTube of some of his LFA fights. He's, like Ryan said, very exciting, lots of movement, throw spinning back kicks, anything like that. Pretty exciting on his feet. I agree. I think it's going to be tough coming in 1 week notice, but I also think that might explain a little bit of the line, the wider line. Maybe if this was more build up, people would respect Santos a little more. I think we've talked about it a few times coming in off some of these regional scenes. It's a tough adjustment, especially going to London. It's not like this is in the Apex or a more neutral site. This is going to be all Murphy. And he's been waiting over a year to make this come back into the octagon. I think Murphy's gonna be able to get it done, but like you said, it should be a really exciting fight. I hadn't thought about that KO prop, but I think that's probably the most fun bet. You're able to watch it. You don't have to be upset if either of them goes down, but cheer
right.
for something exciting. I think I'm definitely gonna ride that with you, but I'm also I'll go Santos here just for the fun aspect of it. I think, like you said, much more active fighter. He's got a great opportunity here to make a statement coming in on a first fight against a well-regarded fighter. And I think he can get the job done for sure. I think what he's good at, it's not like Murphy's going to be trying to get him to the ground or dominate in that way. So he's going to have that kind of fighter's chance. And I'm gonna pick him, but I'm gonna put my money on the KO bet.
Oh, John, that's a good way to do it. I think this line's stayed pretty consistent most of the week, which is pretty interesting. So obviously Santos getting a bit more a good level of respect, but two undefeated fighters here, so it's going to be a really interesting one coming up this weekend.
Agreed. All right, let's move on. Next fight we have the flyweights. We have the big prospect, Muhammad Makayev, coming in, opening up at minus 800. He's 22 years old, which is crazy. Young guy. Going up against Yafel Philo, the pastor, 14-2. Also coming out of Brazil, like Santos. He opened at plus 550. He's 29 years old, and he's going to have a reach disadvantage here going up against Makayev. I'd say most people would definitely expect this one to be Makayev taken to the ground, dominating, whether by submission or just control throughout the fight. But Ryan, what do you see here?
No hot take, John. I've got Mikhail as well. He should get this one done. I think, Javel Filio is not bad. But I don't know where he wins this fight. Maybe he kind of gets a crazy submission or something. If you're on the Filio side, I think that's probably the way he gets it done. And we can take a look at that line quickly just to see. But that Mikhail line is quickly going to be closing over minus 1,000 for sure. And we can see Filio by decision or by submission plus 1,600, right? So that might not be worth a small poke if you're just trying to fade the hype train of Mikhail here. But yeah, John, I don't have a ton to say about this one. I think I'm really interested to see that Mikhail get that step up in competition. He fought Charles Johnson. I wish he had fought that Charles Johnson fight with Johnson on a full camp. He kind of went in there and dominated Johnson and has done that. But to your point as well, right? Like hasn't been quite as impressive just in terms of like getting those quick finishes and things like that, right? So, beat Cody Durden early, which was a great win. But then, only the decision over Charles Johnson. And then last time he can't get Gordon out of there until late in the third round, right? So he's doing the things you want to see. Can't really complain about that. And obviously had that undefeated amateur career as well. So I think he keeps it going this weekend, fighting at home. And yeah, he's going to be a big favorite and for good reason.
Yeah, I mean, just going through his topology there, I mean, 32 fight win streak, including amateurs, which is pretty crazy to think about. No matter where he's been, he's found success, and only 22. So that guy's been active. I mean, you see it a lot with the guys fighting out of Dagestan, but it'll be something there. I think Philo, he's got 8 wins by sub on his resume, so it might be a little different for Makayev. He might be a little more worried about getting into weird takedown positions or something, but I agree. Mm-hmm. I think he's gonna take care of business and kind of methodically work through this one like he has in the past.
Yep.
Let's move on. The next fight, let's see, we got lightweight bout between Sam Patterson, the future, bold nickname, he's 10-1 or 10-1-1, opened at minus 280, 26 years old, fighting out of Walford, England, going up against Yanal, the Red Fox Ashmaz, fighting out of Israel, which you don't see a ton of UFC fighters. He's 6-0, opened at plus 225. He's got a pretty big height reach disadvantage here. Looking through some of his past stuff, not the highest level of competition at all for Ashmaz. He was fighting, I forget the name of the Kano World Tour. Also did one fight in the PFL against Dennis Hughes, which was an impressive win. He's a good fighter. He's got really heavy striking. He is impressive in that area, but I think this is going to be a big step up going up against Sam Patterson, and he won't be able to just kind of tee off like he's kind of been able to in some of his past fights. I like Patterson a lot here. I kind of agree with the odds makers, but 2 fighters coming in on long win streaks. Ryan, are you seeing any bets you like here?
Yeah, John, I think this is lined pretty correctly. I like what I saw on tape from Ashmaz, right? I think he's a pretty solid fighter. Grinder, like wants to kind of throw heavy punches and then get you up against the fence, work you, working some takedowns as well. But really, he just wants to like impose his will on fighters. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that against Sam Patterson. This to me feels like a bit of a setup fight for Patterson on the London card, right? I feel like they tend to do that with a lot of these London fighters. So, yeah, I like the Patterson side as well, but I don't really have a super strong lean one way or another. It's a fight I've stayed away from a betting perspective, but we can take a look at the odds here quickly. See, they're pretty much right where they were. Fight's definitely expected to end inside the distance, so we're seeing -215 for a fight doesn't go. Patterson to win by KO, sitting up around +300, to win by submission around +200. So if you're on that Patterson side, might be a good way to kind of increase your value over there. But if you're on that Ashma side, I think the KO is probably more than likely his path to victory here. I don't know that he's going to go and outstrike and outpoint Sam Patterson over 3 rounds, right? So if I'm on the Ashmo side and looking to just throw a dart, I might be looking at a KO or something like that. But I agree with you, John. I think Sam Patterson gets it done and gets him out of there in like the 3rd round or something. It's just is able to break him down, and make that skill gap a little bit more evident as the fight goes on.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out Ashma's lots of finishes, but none in the first round, so he doesn't quite maybe have that as explosive a power you see from other guys, which makes him a tougher underdog to side with, especially like you said, win condition being KO. If he's not able to get that out of there before Patterson kind of finds his groove, I think, like you said, Patterson more complete. I like him by submission. I think he might be able to piece him up a little bit on the feet, get him to the ground, and just have a good advantage there, especially long fighter. He's gonna be able to maybe impose himself on you and all. But let's move on. We got 2 prelims left here. The first one, we have lightweight bout between Chris the Problem Duncan and Omar the Venezuelan fighter, which I think might be one of the least creative nicknames in all.
It's got to be the worst nickname ever. Oh my god.
Omar Morales, Duncan coming in 9-1. He's 4-1 in his last 5. Morales 11-3 overall, but he is 2-3 in his last 5. This fight opened even money both ways, and Morales is a far older fighter coming in 37 years old compared to Duncan's 29, almost 30. Morales does have a solid 2.5-inch reach advantage here. Ryan, do you think the Venezuelan fighter can pull this one off?
No, I don't. Not a big fan of Omar Morales. Just don't think his game is super high level. He's old now. His look slower the last two times out where he's lost. Right. His last win was over Shane Young, who we saw earlier on the card this year. Like, is not a very good fighter himself. There's not a ton I like that I'd want to be backing on the Morales side. He's scrappy. He's got good attacks on the feet. He's powerful. But I think Chris Duncan is kind of all of those things, and he's a little hungrier. At 29, coming in off the Contender Series, just at a better point in his career in terms of kind of turning that table. And I like the idea of fading the guy, on his way out of the UFC, because I think there's a good potential for that to be the case if he doesn't pick up the win this weekend. I don't really see him going on a run and being able to fight much more up the ranking. So I'm going to go with the younger fighter in Duncan here, especially at even money, to fight at home in the UK and get the win over Morales. But yeah, not really a super strong confident stand one way or another. How are you feeling about it, John?
Yeah, I agree with most of that. I like Duncan more here. Kind of surprised to see it even money. I mean, Morales has the experience advantage, but he's coming off 2 straight KOs to Uris Medic and Jonathan Pierce. Um, I like Duncan by KO here. I think he's gonna come in. I'm not convinced Morales is still at the top. And I mean, at that age, not a very busy fighter. So what are we seeing for Duncan KO? It's not the best odds.
200.
I mean, I might just stick
Not
with
bad though.
the normal
Yeah.
line then, with it being a
And
toss
if
up.
you are getting in that Duncan side, it looks like we've been getting some movement here um, towards those Duncan numbers. So it might be the time to jump in as we've been seeing it, kind of hovering right around evens, but starting to hit minus 121 on Bet Online. So you can still get minus 110 out here at Caesars. So might want to jump on that if you're looking to play the Duncan side here.
Agree. I think we can move on from this one. So we got the featured prelim of the night. We got a featherweight bout between Jack Tank Shore going up against Marquand, Mr. Finland, Amir Khani. Shore coming in 16-1 off his first loss ever against Ricky Simone by arm triangle. He's a heavy favorite, open at minus 500, going up against Amir Khani, who is 1-4 in his last five, coming off a KO. And you can see there,
You've seen his Tapology picture.
certainly Mr. Finland. Quite the photo to use, especially in a somewhat struggling stretch of fights for him. He's the older fighter. Amir Khan, he's 34 compared to Shore's 28. I personally am a huge fan of Shore here. I think, like probably everybody, he's coming off his first loss. He's been a tank in the UFC, no pun intended. And I think this is going to be a big fight for him to bounce back. He's got the featured prelim going up against a guy that he should be a far more complete fighter. And I think he's going to make a statement that that last fight was maybe whether a fluke or whatever. I think he's going to make a statement that he is a real contender in the UFC, and he's going to get back on the winning ways and keep moving up. Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, man. I like Jack Shore, but I don't love these odds. I think this is pretty wide. Because we have seen him get caught in that choke, even just the last time out, right? And Makwan's win condition is to get the early submission. So if the odds were better on, I think Makwan's probably only path to victory is a round one submission. And I was looking at that earlier this week, but you weren't getting great odds on it. Let's see. Plus 1,600. So not terrible, but that line's probably going to continue to get hit because I really see that as his only path to victory. He's got some great front chokes and is going to, I think be able to use that because I think the fight's going to get to the ground in the first round. And then it just becomes a question of can Makwan find that early finish with one of those choke series or does Shore, push through and get him out of there. Ultimately, I think Shore probably gets the job done, but I wouldn't mind a poke on Amir Khani. And he's a fighter for whatever reason, I tend to like see fighting. So I think it could be fun. And, I wouldn't be totally surprised to see him kind of come out here and steal the show with a crazy first round submission or something. If he doesn't, he's probably going to gas out and get put out himself. So not something I'm looking to really get behind. But I'm hesitant to be playing Shore in like my parlays and stuff this week as well. So just my read on it.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Odds might be a little heavy there. Should be a good fight, but I agree it's interesting putting him up against a guy who certainly does his best work on the ground coming off that submission loss. It'll be interesting to see if he changes anything up or if he sticks with it. But yeah, that might be a good one. I'll probably stay away. But now we're moving on to the main card. First fight, Ryan's got it pulled up there. We got the middleweights going at it. We got Marvin, the Italian Dream Vittori, going up against Roman, the Caucasian Day. Vittori coming in 18-5-1. Everyone knows he's had some pretty high profile losses recently, both to Robert Whitaker and Israel Adesanya. That was his second loss, I believe, to Adesanya in his UFC career. But he's opening up here, minus 280, still a younger fighter in his prime, 29 years old, and does have a height reach disadvantage, but he's going up against the Caucasian Day, who opened up plus 230, Georgian fighter. He's 12-1, but 34, almost 35 years old. So this will be maybe his last chance to make a serious run at the top of the division. This win could certainly kind of keep his path going. Ryan, what do you see here?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this fight. This is going to be awesome. So Roman Dolidze, as everyone knows, is you know wasn't expected to have to get to this point, I'd say, right, and be kind of fighting the Marvin Vittori's of the world. But man, in the last year, he's really gone out and dominated. So 4 fights in the last year and 9 months, right? Beats Laureano Scarapoli, beats Kyle Dawkins by punches, who since left the UFC, right? Beats Phil Hawes, just dominates him there. And then 3 months ago, locked up Hermanson with that gross calf slicer and then just started like raining punches down to the back of his head, trying to kill him. So, he's violent. He's dangerous for sure. He's a skilled submission grappler, does a lot of, jiu-jitsu competitions and things like that, right? So he's a super dangerous finisher. But Marvin Vittori doesn't get finished, like that's kind of what he's going up against on the Vittori side. Vittori has insane durability, kind of insane chin. We've seen him, realistically been a lot of times where he should have been put to sleep. He's got good submission defense as well. Yeah, I bought in on the Vittori side here. I'm playing him pretty big for 4 units at like minus 270, 265. And I like that bet. I think he really has way more paths to victory here. I think he's just a way higher skilled fighter, has fought the better level of competition. Dolidze is definitely live to kind of come in and steal the show and get a knockout or get a submission or something. If I'm on the Dolidze side, I almost lean submission. I think that's not a bad line last time I looked at it. Obviously, we've known him to be more of a knockout guy lately, but we saw in the he could have finished Hermanson with the calf slicer as well, probably, right? So like the skill is there for sure, and I don't, I think there's a better chance Vittori could get caught on the ground than get caught on the feet. So if you're looking to play violence on the Dolidze side, that might be the way I'm looking to do it. But line staying pretty even. Will be interesting to see where this goes. But yeah, should be a really fun fight. And as you said, John, if Roman Dolidze can find a way to pull this off, man, he shoots himself right up to kind of the top of the rankings here. And is bound for a big fight the next time out. So this is going to be an awesome one to kick off the main card, I think.
Yeah, totally agree. I like Vittori. I think he's kind of getting back to a more winnable fight. He's had some obviously top level competition here for a couple of years. And I think this will be a big one for him. Kind of, like I said, still in his prime, still looking to probably make one or however many more runs towards the top of the division. I think his biggest advantage will be on the feet. I think he'll be able to control it from there, but it will be really exciting. I mean, like you said, Dolidze maybe hasn't gone up against the top of the top, but has had some really impressive wins during this win streak, and has multiple paths to victory. But I think Vegas is respecting Vittori in the correct way, especially
It's
showing.
a tough price you're paying though. Like I don't like that I'm paying minus two
Yeah,
seventy
it
five
almost feels like
to
it's
pay
almost
it,
like
but
a Vegas trap. I mean, you see a guy like Day coming in, win streak, 12-1, but I mean, I think Vegas putting a lot of weight behind Vittori, like you said, hasn't been finished really. Has been really impressive against some top competition, and he knows that main card feel. He knows all that side of it. and I think that'll lead him to being able to get this one done.
Yep, love it.
Cool. All right, let's move on. The women's fight on the main card. We have a flyweight bout between Jennifer Maia and Casey O'Neill. Maia 29-1 overall, 5-5 in the UFC. She's coming in one fight win streak over Marina Moroz. She is 34 years old. Hasn't had a finish in a while. She was a dangerous finisher a little earlier in her career, but more so lately has been pushing both losses and wins to decision. And then you have Casey O'Neill, 9-0, 4-0 in the UFC. She's coming off a completely torn ACL, so she hasn't been in the octagon for over a year. But she has 3 wins by KO, 2 by submission, 4 by decision, with wins against Roxanne Modafferi, Antonia Shevchenko, and Lara Fritzen. And she is the younger fighter, almost 9 years younger, coming in at 25 years old. And she'll have a big height reach advantage, over 5 inches of reach here. Personally, I like Casey O'Neill to get the job done here. I think she's a really impressive fighter. I think the ACL certainly, it's a tough layoff, especially in fighting, but we've seen no matter the sport, ACLs aren't quite what they used to be. I think she's going to be able to get back in there as the younger, more dangerous fighter, and and do what she wants against Maia. I mean, Maia's got a lot of experience, but I don't think she's kind of got that danger that she once had as a fighter, which will maybe open up some more doors for O'Neill to be aggressive and to come in looking to get a statement win. One cool side note: the nickname King for Casey O'Neill. She lost her first 2 ever fights in amateurs, and then switched coaches, switched gyms, came out, went on a big win streak from there. And ever since those first 2, her coach, after her third one, supposedly told her that was some king shit, and that kind of stuck. And I mean, she hasn't lost since. So pretty cool there. Ryan, do you see any way that she doesn't pull off yet another victory here in her comeback?
Not really, John. I'm on the Casey O'Neill side as well. Just to kind of make the devil's argument for Jennifer Maia here. She's fought the way better level of competition. Has been at the top of the mountain really in this weight class for a long time. I'm kind of shocked she's only 34 years old, because she's been in there for a long time. So 5-5 in the UFC, had a nice little run in Invicta before that. You know, the losses are to the very best, right? Has lost to Chikagian twice, lost to Shevchenko and Fierro. Her activity's been pretty good. Is beating some of the people that she needs to. But to your point earlier, I don't think she has that. Like, when's the last time we saw her get the finish over Joanne Wood in 2020? Like, I don't know that the finishing upside and the grappling upside is there quite as much as before. On the feet, they should honestly be pretty even. Like, I don't think either of these ladies are awesome strikers by any means. It'll be interesting to see Casey O'Neill on the feet, like post ACL. Does that movement look the same? Kind of things like that. But man, I like her. I like Casey to be able to go in and get the takedown and control. And I'm not that worried about a Jennifer Maia submission here. So yeah, I like Casey O'Neill as well. I'm getting a weird feeling about this one though, John. This one's been, drawn a lot of interest, I think, online and some other places. People kind of just questioning whether this is a step too far too soon for O'Neill, and whether she's fully back kind of after that knee injury. So yeah, I might get burned, but I'm on Casey O'Neill as well this weekend, and hoping she gets the job done. So.
Cool. Yeah, I think we're in agreement there. So we can move on. We got 3 more fights here. First one, we have a very interesting fight between Gunny Nelson coming in 18-5-1, 9-5 in the UFC. Last fight was nearly a year ago, but he's fought top competition. I mean, he beat Takashi Sato, but he's got losses to Gilbert Burns, Leon Edwards, and he actually beat Alex Oliveira. Very impressive. 34 years old, coming in Ireland or Iceland, sorry. And then we got Brian Barberena, Bam Bam, coming in 18-9 off a loss, opening around plus 300. He's also an older fighter, around the same age of 34 years old, and pretty similar height reach. Ryan, what do you think in this one?
Gunnar Nelson loses this fight, he should get cut. Brian Barberena is not very good. He I don't understand kind of like the career resurgence of Brian Barberena. Like, had a few good wins, beating some kind of lower level guys, beating Robbie Lawler on his way out, and you know gets worked by Dos Anjos, which was expected. He came in on short notice. But he's always game. He's ready to fight. He wants to stand, trade, and bang on the feet, right? Like, that's his game. That is not Gunnar Nelson's game. Gunnar Nelson wants to take you down and just sit there, right? Like, that's what we saw in the Takashi Sato fight. Didn't even really go for the submission. I think, he'll probably be a little bit more active and try and get it done here this weekend. I like Gunnar Nelson to go out there and find the finish, though. Barberena's historical takedown defense is sub 50%. He goes down so easily, and he works back to his feet, but he's not dangerous from the bottom at all. There's going to be a huge discrepancy, once this fight gets to the ground, and I expect Gunnar to take it there. Now, if for whatever reason this plays out on the feet for extended periods of time, like, I think there's a good chance that the Gunny could get popped, but if he's safe and gets this fight down to the back early and looks to get him out of there, he really should get this done. So he's going to be a parlay piece I'm looking to play this weekend. Somebody I'm pretty dang confident about. Just not really seeing Barberena's path to victory, knowing that I really just have no confidence in him being able to keep this fight standing, for extended periods of time. So with that in mind, I think the Gunnar Nelson side is where I want to be this weekend.
Yep. I'm in full agreement there. I've seen some stuff about Gunnar maybe coming in a little better shape than usual to this fight.
He said he was had some eye injury last time. There's been some weird stuff. I'm not a huge, I don't think Gunnar Nelson is ever making the run for the title either, but yeah,
I thought it was kind of weird.
It'll be interesting
for this fight. But it seemed like
yeah, I agree, right? Like, Barberena has kind of become a little bit of a fan favorite just because of the stupidity of his fighting style, you know what I mean? But I don't, that gives me no trust to pick him in this matchup, right? So yeah, I guess they're giving us, at least it's not just one of those random heavyweight garbage fights. I'd rather see these guys throw down. So with that, in these next couple, man, look at Justin Gaethje's tab algebra. That's terrible. Let's move on to the co-main and the main event here.
Yep. So like you said, we got two amazing main event fights. In 286, we got a throwback Justin Gaethje there. So we got Justin the highlight Gaethje, 23-4 overall, coming in plus 190, which has to be up there with his highest underdog odds coming into a fight, going up against Rafael Ataman Fiziev, 12-1. He is coming in 6-fight win streak, 8 wins by KO, 1 by submission, 3 by decision, 6-1 in the UFC overall. And he said leading up to this fight, I can't wait to go and see him in the cage, smell blood, smell his heart, and then eat his heart, which is quite the prediction coming into a fight. Personally, this is a tough one. I mean, Fiziev's been as impressive as anybody, coming in over wins over RDA, Brad Riddell, Bobby Green, Renato Marcino. But it's going to take a little bit to talk me out of Gaethje. I mean, he's coming in at a pretty great number, I would say. He's fought the best of the best. I mean, coming off a loss against Oliveira, and also Khabib, which I don't know if you can really fault the guy too much for those losses. And he's just a complete fighter. I mean, I think he's going to be able to stand and bang with Fiziev. I think that's where Fiziev might be able to get the win, but he's also got great wrestling. Has different areas to his game. I was surprised to see Fiziev, especially with what I would consider a slightly less impressive resume. I mean, obviously he's on quite the run right now and is poised to be at the top. I mean, he hasn't quite faced those top guys yet. And I think in plus 200 for a guy like Justin Gaethje, who's been there, done that against the best of the best, and I like that look. I mean, I think it's going to be either way one of the fights of the year probably. I think this is kind of a perfect stylistic matchup. Two guys that are going to really get after it. But Ryan, I'll let you tell the fans what you think here.
Yeah, John, I think you broke that down really well. There's a lot of things to like about the Gaethje side in this one, especially with the number you're getting. It's not the way I'm looking this weekend, though. I'm going to be on Fiziev pretty heavily. Not sure if I'll get to the window at the current money line kind of price tag. What I'm actually expecting in this fight is, for it to get extended a little bit. So I jumped on like an over 1.5 early in the week. I've got a small fight goes to decision at like plus 200. I think both these guys are incredibly durable. I think we've seen that obviously from Justin Gaethje. Fiziev has excellent striking defense and has gotten hit in some of his fights as well, and it's taken it well. I like this to kind of be an all-out war, like you said, John, like a fight of the night style of fight, a bit of back and forth, and kind of going over the distance. So fading kind of the expectation in a Justin Gaethje fight, and getting a bit better number there. So that's the way I like to play this most. Otherwise, I'm probably gonna be sitting back and watching as a fan. Not a huge Justin Gaethje fan. I like Fiziev to kind of go in there and get this done. I think everywhere where Gaethje is best, Fiziev is probably a little bit better at this point. Truly in the prime of his career. Whereas I think how many of these wars against the best fucking people in the world can Justin Gaethje continue to fight, right? And like even when Oliveira like knocked him down last time out, like I wasn't in love with that, right? Because I think he hit Oliveira with harder shots earlier, right? And then Oliveira kind of is able to come back and put him down pretty quickly. I'm not loving backing Gaethje this weekend. So if you are, the KO is probably the way to look. I don't think like you brought up the wrestling, like we haven't seen Justin Gaethje wrestle in like years, so like that might still be there, but like I don't think that's the fight he's going for. It would be like like Chandler and Connor wrestling or something. I don't see him implementing that here. And if it stays on the feet, again, I like it to kind of get extended, but for Fiziev to ultimately kind of just piece him up as the fight goes on. So that's how I'm going to be leaning and looking to play it. Maybe a Fiziev by decision or something. But it's going to be an awesome fight. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yep, total agreement. I mean, I think this is going to be, like I said, maybe one of the best of the year. It should be as exciting as it gets. And like you said, it might just send Fiziev to the very top. This is one of those fights. It's a springboard. But I hope we get it exciting. I hope it does stretch out a little bit because, like you said, two of the most durable and high output guys out there. So it should be really great. But let's move on to the fight everybody is ready for. Everybody is excited for. We have the trilogy, Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman. Edwards obviously coming in as the champion off the KO head kick bang against Kamaru. And that was Usman's only second loss of his career. I mean, we don't need to break down this one too far. I think everyone knows what we're getting. Everyone knows the stakes of this fight. Can Usman bounce back? Like Ryan said at the beginning of the podcast, get that and new call from Bruce Buffer. Personally, we were talking about it early in the week. I like Edwards to shock the world again. He's coming in as a champion. super high odds, opening at plus 200. And I think the X factor here will be, I think you could see it in the last fight. I don't think he believed he had any chance of winning that fight until he won the fight. If you even just look at his facial expressions throughout all 5 rounds, I think he knew where it was going. And hey, there's a pretty decent chance that can go that way again for 5 rounds. But I think he's gonna be coming in with a new confidence with his home crowd. Maybe just be a little more aggressive, take some of those shots early, which could backfire. But Usman getting up to 36 years old, obviously he's well known for having the kind of bum knees a little bit. His knees are working down and down. So
No concrete, no concrete.
yeah, exactly.
You get that? You
Exactly.
can't walk on concrete or something, which seems like absurd. Like, but anyway, um,
Fighter. So I like Edwards. I think this is gonna be a really exciting fight. I think it might be the most exciting fight between the two, obviously barring the last minute head kick. I'm saying in totality, just because I think Edwards is gonna come in with a different attitude, come in with that championship mindset, and think he can get the job done this time. And I think that's gonna mean a lot. I see all sides for Usman. Obviously, one of the most complete and dominant fighters we've ever seen in the UFC. Ryan, what are you thinking?
I mean, I think you broke it down really well. Edwards is probably a pretty live underdog. I think that confidence factor is really big. But it came down simply to me, you know, Kamaru Usman was well on his way to kind of being the goat of MMA. That was kind of the considerations and the conversations we were having prior to the last fight, right? I think we're getting a really good number. Minus 240. I got in there minus 220, right? Just over a 70% implied probability there, right? 7 out of 10 times, I think Kamaru gets the job done. Probably by decision. My expectation with this fight kind of goes late. Kamaru tries to use more of the wrestling. The big thing is can Leon, like the first round I think is going to be really huge, right? And then how well can Leon kind of keep Kamaru off of him? But we saw in the last fight too, and as well as even Leon performed in the first round and having that head kick there at the end, like he was well on his way to losing that fight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna continue to kind of trust the probabilities and the odds here. And I think Usman gets this done. Has one or two more fights maybe, and then is kind of on his way out. Because as you said, I think he's definitely getting towards the end of the line. But man, I also trust him to kind of come back and give it one more really good go, and I don't think he's going down without a fight. So he's somebody I'm pretty confident in going out and fighting hard for my money this weekend, which is ultimately, all you can ask for is a better when these guys are getting into the cage for you. So
Yeah, and like you said, in their last fight, Usman opened at minus 375. So you're getting a really good number for a fighter that, like Ryan said, dominated 24 minutes out of 25 minutes in that fight, and has been one of the more dominant fighters we've ever seen. He'll obviously be gearing up for that left kick to the head. So it'll be on.
that'll be interesting, right? Like how high does he hold his hands? Like I'm
Yeah.
curious to see if Leon can get some body shots and like work the legs and then maybe go back up high, right? Like I'll just be curious to kind of see how Kamaru is approaching it on the feet and what the defense looks like, kind of the strategy on both sides. Because for sure, John, like that's got to be in the back of his mind, every second of the fight, and not wanting to go down that same way, right? So hopefully he's not thinking about it too much, and is able to get it out of his head. But man, I would be. So it'll be crazy.
Total agreement. I'd like to correct myself on one thing. I think I said this was a trilogy. I think maybe it's just
It is.
it is.
It is. Yep.
I'm looking
They
for
fought back a long time ago, like a while ago.
Oh,
Usman
okay.
won.
So you got a decision
Um,
or 2015. Wow. Okay, just making sure.
yeah, so way back in the day. And then Edwards got him last time out, and we'll get the third fight here. So, overall, John, this is going to be a really great card. Had a lot of fun breaking this down, all 15 fights on the card here. We've got UFC 286 this weekend. Um, Both of us kind of on opposite sides here of both the main and co-main event. So really going to be a fun one to sit back and watch. Might have to get some side action between the two of us. And curious, Cage Cash faithful, let us know down below in the comments whether you're siding with John or with Ryan on these main card picks, specifically our last two fights. Ryan going with Usman and Fiziev, John taking Edwards and Gaethje. So John, the underdog, story. But yeah, man, we're gonna close this one out. John, any last words before we end this one?
No, you said it. I mean, definitely maybe taking the fun side of those last two bets. Don't feel great as you read it out to me going up against Usman and Fiziev. But I think you're getting good numbers. If one of those guys can pull it out, you're back to a plus night. So I think we got a loaded card throughout. We got some good prelims, some exciting up and coming prospects. That'll be a lot of fun to watch. This card will be kicking off in the afternoon, which is always great on a Saturday to just sit down, watch UFC all day, maybe win some money, possibly lose some money. But we're excited. This has been Cage Cash, episode 7. Check out Ryan at Ryan's MMA Picks. He's going to be putting up all his bets, any reactions he has, maybe some daily fantasy lineups, as we've been sprinkling some money in there recently. Follow the podcast at Cage Cash Podcast. And we're excited for a fun event, UFC 286.